2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Three, two, one. What's up, Shane?
Yeah.
We don't normally have a countdown, but it's kind of fun.
No.
Hey, listeners. Hey, viewers. I'm Dan. That's Shane. This is 2414. We enjoy having conversation with each other. We enjoy conversing and connecting with you, and we hope this podcast helps encourage conversation, eavesdropping in on ours, being a part of ours, and continuing it elsewhere. Today, Shane and I are starting a new series we're calling something like Sabbath Rest, looking at the idea, the fact that for me, for Shane, for, 9 out of 10 people you meet, you ask them how they are, it's going to be tired or busy, and maybe that isn't the only way to live. But it's certainly how I typically live, and I don't often love it.
It typically seems like how most people live too.
Yeah. So we're going to explore what does rest look like? What is this kind of ancient command, pattern, rhythm, practice of Sabbath? And what might a rhythm of Sabbath or a rhythm of rest look like? Maybe it's a day a week. Maybe it's a set aside time. Maybe it's even just a mentality of breathing and pausing and resting. So we're going to explore that. Before we do that, we want to share some highs and lows, because that's part of real life, and you are allowed to say tired or busy, but you don't have to. After highs and lows, we're going to do a quick round of wheels versus doors. Wheels versus doors. Do you have a sound effect for that?
I do. Give me 5 minutes.
Okay. Should I get it set up again? Okay, yeah, dramatic. I say quick round. I'm not sure it's a quick game. It takes a lot of head scratching. There's so many things to wrap your head around.
It's a little calmer than our outburst game.
It's true. It's less verbal exploding. So before we get to Sabbath and rest, before we get to wheels versus doors, Shane, lows, highs from the last minute, the last day, the last season. How are you?
Yeah, I'd say I think in theme of Sabbath, and to be not even to be cliche, but to honest, I'm gonna say low is just drained.
Yeah,
just like tired, probably as everyone else, but I just feel very exhausted a lot, like most of the time, and it just and maybe it's circumstantial, maybe it's more than that. I'm just learning how to function as a growing adult in the modern age, or maybe it is just exhausted from just work.
And we're at the tail end of winter, where it's like it's been dark for months and months.
Although I love. So Lauren and I were able to use the hot tub last night. It was great, but it was like 9:45, and it was still like light out.
That's awesome.
And it was. It put us in a good mood. It's like 9:45, 9:30, and the sun's still out. I feel productive, cool. Even if just because the sun was still existent. So just tired, exhausted. High. I would say Lauren and I together as a married couple did a successful first Dungeons and Dragons session together.
I've never played. Is it played? Participate?
It is.
Do you play Dungeons and Dragons? Do you do it? I don't know.
You play it. There are game mechanics of it. It's not just do whatever you want, but it is a little bit. But you still have to there's still chance. There's still there's skill per se.
Okay.
But it.
Did you dress up?
No.
Okay.
That was I think that was part of Lauren's fear. Sorry, Lauren. I'm just gonna say Lauren was pretty terrified going into it, because are they gonna dress up? How much role playing is in this? It's not we were the great group of people for first timers. It wasn't true role playing of where's your accent?
I was gonna say, do people have accents?
No, but I think when you unbeknownst to you, get invested into it. Like a piece of like your character really does come out.
Okay.
So it was just really fun. You got to be like Lauren said it best. Like, I feel like I got to be a kid again. Like explore my imagination with a bunch of other people. Like it was a really, really fun time. And so I'd say that was just a really just fun highlight from the week.
Awesome.
Yeah, so flip it over to you. Highs, lows of the past year, decade, day, hour.
Lows. I think some low. So one's kind of a something of a preemptive low, sort of. I'm doing a long run this weekend. So by the time this comes out, I don't know when this drops, but we're recording this on the
same day actually. Yeah, that you. It releases midnight on. Or midnight, 12 a.m. on Saturday.
So we're recording this on the Tuesday of the week going into Memorial Day weekend. So this upcoming Saturday, I'm going to participate in a 100-mile run. I use the word participate and not race because I'm not like racing. I'm not going to be like, you're not looking over my shoulder at other people. No, we are all in it together. So 6 a.m. on Saturday, it starts. So I'm going to get there about 5 a.m. So I'm going to get up about 4 a.m. And then if everything goes according to plan, I'll finish about 24 hours later. I don't think I've ever been awake for 24 straight hours. I've certainly never been on my feet for 24 straight hours. So that's exciting, but the low is just, every time I stub my toe or my back feels funny or like I sneeze. Oh no, am I sick? Am I injured? Did I do enough training? So it's looming right now, and I'm excited for it, but it's not fun to be waiting for it.
Speaking, so that's the low.
Yeah, my low is that it's kind of looming, and it probably makes me anxious and grumpy. Although it's just kind of my related low is I'm tired, which is like, well, yeah, you're running 60 miles a week. Of course you're going to be tired, idiot.
Yeah. Do you think you'll learn a lot about yourself during this?
I suspect so. I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it. That's my other high is it's this weekend. I'm stoked. I'm going to, I love running. I love being out in nature. I have a number of friends and family members who are going to come out and join me for part of it. So it's basically 10-mile loops.
10-mile loops.
Basically.
Yeah.
And it's about 100 feet of going up of elevation gain every mile.
100 feet every mile.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be work, but I'm going to spend some time with a lot of people I care about. I'll have a lot of time in my own head. It's going to be an adventure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so Shane's gonna come out. Yeah, you're gonna come join me for a loop.
Yeah,
and shuffle with me.
We'll shuffle. I think Lauren and I are in the same process of I think the most I've ever ran was like 11 miles.
Right.
And I that was in high school for cross country, and at the end of it I cried because it was my body had never been put through that before.
My guess, Shane, my prediction is you're going to get done and go, that wasn't so hard.
I think we will too. And I think we're getting in our own heads a little too of we got to get a good pace. Like we got to keep up with you. You'll be the one pulling us along.
When I say like participate in a 100-mile run, it's not like 100-meter dash, just all out for, no, it's more like, it's almost like hiking. You go for a hike.
Yeah.
You walk the uphill. No, so imagine you're going on a hike and you're going to make it to dinner. So you kind of jog the downhill just to make up some time.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to feel like. Be like hiking the uphills and kind of shuffling and jogging the flats and the downs.
I guess, yeah. I remind myself, we're only doing not even a tenth of what you're, but that reminded me of a question of the day.
Oh yeah. Let's have it.
What's the longest you have stayed up?
I don't know. I've never been an all-nighter person. So in high school or college, very early on, I realized I'm going to do better on the test if I'm fresh. Mm-hmm. Like if I get a good night's sleep, I can think on my feet. I can problem solve.
You're a natural test taker.
Testing is like a game to me. It's like a sport. So I like in college, I was never an all-night person. I've lived some different times of life, especially pre-kids, where I was up late or up early. In high school, I'd be out late with friends, and I had I had a 0-hour class before school, but I also had hockey practice before my 0-hour class. So we'd be on the ice at 5 a.m. So I've certainly had minimal sleep.
Long days.
Yeah, I've been on some long road trips. I've done a couple Ironman triathlons. Those took about 15, 16 hours because I'm slow. I did a 100-kilometer run a few years ago. So that was like 62 miles.
Ooh,
and that I think that took around 14 hours.
Wow. Okay.
So that's about the longest I've been on my feet. So this will be another, marathon and a half on top of that.
Yeah, get good sleep on the Friday and Thursday before.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see. What about you? What's the longest you've been awake, Shane?
Probably. I definitely would say sometime in college.
Yeah.
It's funny because we are
like road trip or just playing Xbox all night.
Working on papers.
Like study academic.
Yeah. So it's funny just that that we're friends and coworkers because we're polar opposites when it comes to academia. Like tests were a game, a sport to you. They were a riddle for me. like where's the trick here? Like what am I missing? Like it's a true and false question. Did Sally go down the hill? And the story was Sally went up the hill. But I'm like, yeah, but it's a trick. Like maybe she had to go down at some point. But yeah, it was. The academia was more of like a riddle for me, but like paper, a lot of for like the big paper projects. I wasn't great back then in college, working ahead to do it. So just pulling all-nighters for either the papers or for like the finals at the end of the semester. And I remember one time there was a good it was like close to, I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 40 hours straight, just up.
Okay.
And I remember sleeping for 14 hours straight.
It's terrible.
It was. I mean, it was terrible. It was rough. But
so my friend Ryan and I at college, we had similar kind of temperaments, and we thought similarly, and we were good study partners. And certain classes just felt fun for us. Like learning languages was a joy. So Greek and Hebrew as a pre-seminary student, we loved it, and we were pretty good at it. So it'd be like a quiz or a test day, and we were sitting at opposite sides of the room, and we would race
to see who could.
And yeah, so it's like we'd have a 10-point quiz or a 50-point, and we're just flying through and like slamming our pens down.
You guys are the obnoxious.
Yeah, everyone hated us for sure. And even the teacher was just we were just I defy your class. Your class is a joke to me. we would erase. So
did you ever get anything wrong because you were?
Minimally. So there were kind of there were two categories. One was first one done. That's you get a point for that. And then whoever had the higher score got a point. So, we didn't actually keep score over the semester, but you wanted to be first and you wanted accuracy. But if you didn't get one, you hope to get the other one.
We are living in different worlds. I was the one we only have an hour and a half for this class, for this test. I'm pushing the boundary. Can you extend the time, please? I'm still in the true and false section of this essay.
Good old days. I could have stayed in college forever.
Oh.
All right, well, let's do some wheels versus stories here, Shane.
Let's do it.
To remind our listeners at home, we have a game that we have not read the rules for. We don't know how it's actually supposed to be played, but it has to do with which one there is more of. So I think typically in the actual game, you roll a dice, you roll a die, whatever, and it gives you pick two of these six things. What we're going to do is I'm going to read all six, and we are going to make a guess for which of these six there's the most of, and which of these six there are the least of.
So, for example, the game is called Wheels versus Doors.
Yeah. So in the world, are there more wheels or are there more doors?
And I don't think anyone would ever know, but you could try to quantify
you could
it.
Try. So this, we have not done any fact checking. This game was published in 2020 or so. The box is out of reach, but not too long ago. 2022 maybe. It's pretty recent.
Yeah, so something like that.
I'm going to read
our six categories.
I'm going to read the six categories, and we are going to decide which we think there are the most of, which one we think there are least of, and you at home can play along. Be safe if you're doing something. Please, set your child down first, or pull over if you need to.
Mentally tolling here.
And I have no other context other than whatever it says in this thing. So you can ask any follow-up question for clarification, and we can decide what we think it's asking, but we don't know. Okay, here we go.
Right.
Number 1 of 6, British prime ministers ever. How many prime ministers have there ever been in Britain?
Okay.
Number 2, ships in the Spanish Armada. How many sailing ships were in the Spanish Armada?
All right.
Number 3, official motor racing circuits.
Okay.
I don't know what that means. Is that like tracks, like courses?
I think different race. So like circuits are like the official races. Like there's the Daytona 500. There's the Grand Prix. There's I'm guessing.
So official motor racing. Do you think motor racing includes like Formula One? None of this is going to help me think.
I think so. And like within Formula 1, 3. Yeah, there's there's different like subclasses within it. Like there's the Daytona 500, but then there's different races around the world. I'm guessing.
Fun fact, I once did a lap on the Indianapolis 500 track, like in a bus, I think.
Oh, nice.
We went on obscure family vacations and we went to Plymouth Rock and went to the Jack Daniels distillery and this Amish town in Pennsylvania. And
which track?
The Indianapolis 500.
You were in Pennsylvania?
No, I'm just like, we would drive all around the country and go to to do things.
Gotcha.
These are different locations.
That was not clear at all. It was like you were in Pennsylvania in the Indianapolis.
Those were the kinds of things we did, like for a vacation. We'd go stay at an Amish town, or we'd go to the Indianapolis 500, or we'd go to the Jack Daniels distillery, or we'd go to
you had a tour vacation.
We'd go to hey, there's Plymouth Rock. Cool. Yeah. My other friends went to Disneyland, but there's a rock. So anyway,
it's a pretty cool rock, though.
Yeah, so British prime ministers ever, number 1. Number 2, ships in the Spanish Armada. Number 3, official motor racing circuits. Number 4, pounds of grapes to make 10 bottles of wine. How many pounds of grapes are required to make 10 bottles of wine?
Okay.
Number 5, capital cities.
Capital cities?
I don't know if that is countries.
I'm gonna
probably world cap. Like
I'm gonna assume that's country, state, province, like
every conceivable capital.
I think so.
Okay. What about like the cheese capital of America?
I think it's got to be like legally official capital. That's my guess.
Does it have a star on the map next to the city instead of just a dot?
If you were looking at a map,
okay,
that isn't like a gimmicky map.
Capital cities. And number 6. Ooh, Shane, you might have an advantage on this one.
Bring it.
Episodes of the longest ever TV series, Gunsmoke.
I know it well.
You're always quoting Gunsmoke in the office. I thought you might know how many episodes there were.
Die-hard fan of Gunsmoke. My favorite character, old Shotgunny.
So apparently Gunsmoke is the longest ever TV series. I would have thought like this.
And we've all heard of it. Well, sorry, all listeners who know Gunsmoke.
All right, so we're gonna pick our greatest and our least. Give me a second here while I'm gonna read them again. British prime ministers.
This is the most, I feel like, random.
It's broad, yeah. British prime ministers ever. Ships in the Spanish Armada.
They're doing most and least.
Most and least.
Okay.
Official motor racing circuits. Pounds of grapes to make 10 bottles of wine. Capital cities. And episodes of the longest ever TV series, Gunsmoke.
That is just wild. Okay, I think I've got.
All right, what's your who's the most of all of these? Which ones are the most of?
Most, I'm gonna say capitals.
That's what I said. Same page.
Least, I'm saying British prime ministers.
Ooh, okay. What's your guess? Come on, go on record, Shane. How many prime ministers you think there have been?
I'm gonna
like a dozen or like 1,000. You don't know.
I'm let's say 241.
All right.
No, I take it back. I think 83.
Okay.
Why not?
I just love that like, as Americans, we have no idea.
No.
Like we barely know how many presidents there are. I don't think the average American can name half the presidents.
If you ask someone from Britain, how many presidents have there been?
They probably have a better idea than we do for prime ministers.
Probably. Probably.
I mean, really, do you think the average American could name 20 presidents? No way.
No.
I mean, the older ones might know a few.
I think
my kids could maybe know 10. I might know 20.
Every time I see a list of presidents, I feel like I'm always learning a new president.
Some people have the song. Yeah, some people have songs. They know them all.
Yeah, they're Okay, all
right, sorry. So the biggest one, I guess, capital cities. That just seems really broad. There's a lot of countries. There's a lot of states.
Yeah,
a lot of provinces.
Yeah. We said that.
So I think there's a lot of capitals. And then my least, I thought pounds of grapes to make 10 bottles of wine.
You don't think there's a lot of pounds of grapes?
I think there's a lot of grapes. But pounds? Have there been more prime ministers or pounds of grapes? I think there have been fewer grapes. Fewer pounds of grapes.
See, that just seems like one that's just gonna, it's gonna dumbstruck me of like, wow, that's a lot of grapes. All right.
So if you're listening at home and you don't want to have it revealed or spoiled for you, now you can pause it. Should I go from big to small or small to big?
Let's go small to big.
Smallest to big. The fewest of all of these things. British prime ministers ever. Shane, congratulations, sir. You got one right. We don't often get them right. Are you going to applaud for yourself over there? You can't find the sound effect.
There's layers of sound effects now.
There it is. Shane Welter, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
What was your guess? How many British prime ministers?
87.
55.
Oh, okay.
So
I feel pretty good in life.
You're somewhere close. So 55.
Feel good today.
The next one up was ships in the Spanish Armada. So I'm falling farther behind. There were 150.
That was
ships in the Spanish Armada.
That's what I figured.
Well, that seems like a lot of ships, but I was picturing just the sea full Armada. Seems like a lot.
100. That's a lot. Still a lot.
That's a lot. The third fewest of these was official motor racing circuits with 181. Okay. I'm doing terrible here. Didn't see that coming.
Nope.
The next one up was capital cities. 195.
That's okay. It must be countries.
I don't know. 195 capital cities in the world. So I got nothing. This one. Okay.
Maybe some countries don't have a capital state.
Who knows?
Not me.
Clearly
don't know.
The next one up is pounds of grapes to make 10 bottles of wine. 306.
Bruh.
Dude, bro. All right, bruh. All right, 306 pounds of grapes to make 10 bottles of wine. That's a lot of grapes give their lives for that bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And then the
sacrifices.
The largest of all these episodes of the longest ever TV series, Gunsmoke, Shane, 635. So, ladies and gentlemen,
of course it is. I'm not surprised. It's the one we have the least knowledge. I would have felt more confident guessing the amount of Spanish ships in the Armada than episodes of Gunsmoke.
That's how you play Wheels versus Doors, at least on our podcast.
At least on our show.
You might play differently if you own the game.
Speaking of episodes of Gunsmoke,
yeah,
I'm assuming they're not on air anymore, and all people involved in that are now resting. That's my transition. There you go.
I was going to say I love your transition, Shane. You're seamless.
Very thought out. Yeah.
So here's what we're going to do. Show and tell. Maybe we'll put a link in the show notes below. I've got a book in my hand that was recommended to me by several different people as I was asking around about Sabbath and rest and different resources. And I've got a book here by John Mark Comer, Comer. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Pastor Aaron Bird recommended this to me years ago. And like so many of the book recommendations, I said, yeah, I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
which is actually
never think about it again.
Turns out part of the problem. So then I'm like, hey, I'm tired. Does anybody have any good books on rest or Sabbath? And what my dear friend and colleague years ago recommended. Turns out he knew what he was talking about. So Shane and I are going to be digging into this book in the weeks ahead. It's not a book study. It's not a book review. Shane and I guess I speak for myself, but we've had a lot of conversations. We are interested in figuring out what rest can look like, because I think we're both bad at it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's time management, maybe it's priorities, maybe it's this inner insecurity where I'm trying to prove my worth and my value. Maybe I'm addicted to technology. Maybe I'm just caught up in this cultural flow. Maybe it's all of the above and a whole bunch more.
Maybe
I don't know.
We've just never been taught how to.
I don't know. Model, like, a lot of things in my life I have healthy models for. Oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. But maybe I haven't been taught this. My church hasn't taught me this. I don't have healthy rhythms or patterns. So we're going to be kind of chewing through this book. We're not going to be reading it aloud. We're not just going to be summarizing it. But I had the book recommended by a number of people. I picked it up last week, and I read 100 pages that day. It's a really light reading. It's got wide margins. Parts of the publishing I don't like.
Like seeing those big letters.
Yeah, some big letters, some enormous font. So there's going to be stuff in this book I think we're going to really agree with. There's stuff that's going to be challenging to us. Having read 140 pages already as a pastor and theologian, there's a number of stuff where I'm like, nah. Like just like read like interpretations or biblical emphases. So
as in it's like not doing anything for you, or you just like don't agree with what it's.
Yeah, like as a pastor, I'm like, I don't think that's what that text means. Gotcha. Or I think Jesus might have something to say about this particular thing, but you're pushing there where I wouldn't push. Mm-hmm. So I just want to acknowledge we don't agree with everything in the book. But listeners and viewers, we're going to spend a few weeks with this. So if you would like to pick up a copy, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry by John Mark Comer, Comer. I've greatly enjoyed the first half of the book, and we're going to be processing it together. So I encourage you to pick up a copy, read along. We're not going to do like necessarily like a chapter by chapter. We're inviting this resource in to be a conversation partner. But my warnings are, I'm not going to agree with everything he says. I'm not going to agree with all his biblical interpretation. But like we talked about on our last episode, it's okay to disagree, and we can still learn and process.
Mm-hmm. So to be clear, I guess this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, is pretty direct on Sabbath, and it's not just like a get well book on this is like what rest is for the human anatomy.
Yeah. So he is a Christian. He's a pastor. He was in Portland, and now he's kind of moved on. Maybe I think he's at Los Angeles, at least when the book was published. And it's about rest. It's not necessarily about Sabbath in the sense of sunset on Friday to sunset on Saturday. I haven't got the sense that's even necessarily, at least the first 140 pages, it's not necessarily like you need a dedicated day of the week. The first several dozen pages were just kind of diagnosing the world we live in a way that a lot of other books that I've appreciated have been saying similar things. So I've mentioned digital minimalism 100 times on this podcast.
Yeah.
Or Deep Work by Cal Newport. And both of those things are highlighting the fact that our brains are just scattered. And our lives are scattered. And maybe there's value in slowing down. And maybe everything that's vying for my attention isn't worth my attention. And maybe a life well lived is not simply, the dopamine hit that comes from the glowing device in my hand. Mm-hmm. So finishing a book right now. I just finished it a little bit ago called Peak Mind, like how to have attention and focus in this world of distraction and mindfulness and being present. And that's written by, I think she's got a Hindu background, and she's a neuroscientist, like University of Miami, maybe.
So knows the brain well.
Yeah, but not a Christian. So what this book is it's tapping into this same realm of, gosh, it just feels like we're losing our humanity.
Yeah.
Like we're just people. So many people seem so on edge, so tired, so frantic. We're just go, and we're not happier for it. Mm-hmm. And for me, like I don't want that. I don't want to just be fried all the time. I don't want to be anxious And, several times in the book, he talks about just like, we need caffeine to get us going in the morning, and then we need sleeping pills to sleep at night. And like there's something not good about that. Like if every rhythm in life has to be, narcotically supported. Like, maybe that's not good.
Supplemented from an exterior source of some kind. I think of that. I feel that same vein of like sleep noise recently. Like in my head, I'm having these battles. Like I don't know if this relates to it at all, but like man, I like need that constant like noise or just suppression like of thought to go to sleep. Like,
kind of a restlessness.
Maybe there's a more healthy way to do this. Like
so there's this low hum or maybe high level restlessness or anxiety that's just for me recently always there. Like I don't think I haven't been diagnosed with any sort of like anxiety disorder or anything like that, but there's just this ever present like on edge, as opposed to like what would look like to just breathe and be present, or kind of, you think about like going to the beach and hearing the waves and just enjoying the birds. Like that kind of feeling where you're not reaching for your phone every 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, can you have that kind of calmness in your life, in your normal life? Or does that have to be, I work like a crazy person for 51 weeks of the year, and then for these 5 days when my kids aren't yelling, I can just be at peace. Like that doesn't seem good to me.
Yeah, or sustainable.
And yet realistically, like that's kind of a lot of my rhythms is just go until I either crash or I have to disconnect from everything for a very short time, and maybe that feels healthy. So Shane and I are gonna be reading this book sort of behind the scenes, on our own. We're gonna each be reading it, and then we'll come and process. But just to start the conversation today, Shane, what do you see in your own life? Because I don't want to just point the finger at others. It's really easy to say people or culture or society or the world we live in. But what about your life makes you think now is a good time to really like look at rest?
Yeah. Honestly, like, I think a good default for me is just saying like work. Like when like work takes a lot of like time and a lot of energy and like draining thought. So by the time like I don't know, like per se would have rest, just like I've got no room or capacity for much more. And so like looking for like a true Sabbath, a true rest, a true rejuvenation, and like exploring like what does that look like for me? Because certainly it doesn't like I think it's more than just sleep. I think it's more than just do nothing for a day. I'm really like interested in exploring what does it mean to truly rest? Like what did God have in mind for us to rest? Like, and so sorry. Your question was,
is there anything specific kind of about your context of your life right now that says this is a good time to look at this?
Yeah. I think, I don't know, context of life is just like trying to find like fulfillment in what I do, like whether that's work, whether that's at home. Because certainly if like I push the extremes on all of them, like it's not restful and like certainly not fulfilling. And I feel like I'm pushing that limits on everything. Like certainly I don't have kids or animals to tend to, and so in a sense I feel like I have a much more freedom than other people do in life, but I feel like I can still push that boundary, like when I'm at home. Like I'm able to work on music stuff. I'm able to work on connecting relationally to family. Like certainly everything can't feel like work. So where's this rest and rejuvenation within that? if I'm always drained and empty.
Yeah. You said, not limits, use another word, like kind of max effort.
Push the boundaries,
something like that.
Pushing the limits on like even the things I want to do.
Yeah. So here's a quote, page 91, getting way ahead of things.
Whoa.
But he's quoting somebody else. It has endnotes instead of footnotes. That's a random thing that annoys me sometimes.
Endnotes?
So
is it the function the same as footnotes?
Yeah. So footnotes, it's on the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
So if you see the little superscript, you can just drop down and look.
Chicago style, whatever.
Like it's on the bottom of the page.
Yes.
So for me, that's helpful because it's there. It's unhelpful because it actually feeds into the distraction. So I lose my train of thought because I got to jump around and go look at it. But endnote means you got to flip to the back of the book or the back of the chapter.
Oh,
So then you got to go find. Anyway, so he's quoting somebody else, but he says margin is, so like having margin in your life. Mm-hmm. And I love this. He said margin is the space between our load and our limits. So like if you want to have margin in your life, maybe that's time, maybe that's whatever, but like the load of what you're trying to do and the limit of what you could conceivably like at your max effort do, to have margin is how much space is there between what you're doing and your all out max like die effort. And so to have more margin is there's a gap, there's a space between what I'm doing and what I could do.
And he's saying, give yourself that gap.
He's saying that there's health in having margin in your life. Yeah.
I feel like I could chew on like mentally process.
Yeah, so there's a lot to chew on here. I think I lost my thought earlier. So this book is talking kind of like Cal Newport, kind of like Peak Mind, a bunch of other books, but specifically from like a Christian point of view, saying, hey, what does the Bible say about this? What can we learn from Jesus? So it kind of leans into like Jesus as example, and he's very clear, like Jesus isn't just an example, he's a savior, but a lot of the book is very much like, just do what Jesus did. I'm like, all right, well, that's fine, but but also yes, for sure.
It was a pretty good guy to model ourselves after.
What are you hoping to get out of? I was going to study's not the right word, but I do think we are going to study because I don't think either one of us are good at this. So I think we need information, but I think we need information and practices and accountability. Like I think there's a lot we can get out of this, but how, like, let's say we do this for 12 weeks. What are you hoping is changed or to learn or do? What's a good outcome for you from this?
It's hard to say like what I want the outcome to be, because I know it's totally unrealistic to say like, all right, from this book I'm gonna master rest and rejuvenate and just figure it out and it's gonna be great. But I
go for it.
I mean, like that. It's almost like a vague goalpost to try to be like kicking at of just like I don't know if that's unrealistic or if or is that like is that genuinely like when people were resting like I don't know, before now, like that's how they felt. Like maybe they did. Like I don't know. Like I haven't read enough old text to know like that's how people felt when they were truly resting, like, and they weren't working. But I really do like hope from this process, like just to give myself that foundation, because truly like Sabbath, like this term Sabbath and rest from it, like it's been tossed around a lot, and I've heard people talk about it and say like, give yourself Sabbath, do God gave us this time to rest, use it, but it never like dove into that of like exploring it, but how, and I, like having this like at the forefront of my mind and like more recent like in discussion and topic, like it's already giving me a lot to chew on. I'm like certainly like I was saying before, like certainly like it's just like is rest rejuvenation simply just doing what you want and not work? Is it just rest? Like just I don't know, null void mind and just like turning off your brain for 24 hours. Like that, I don't think that can be it either. So I really hope to just gain like a better understanding and like to have practical tools like from this, that I obviously don't know now because I don't.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that is.
No, yeah, it's interesting. Like you're talking about what rest can be of, or different ways we might think about it. There's go out for a round of golf, or there's play video games, or there's I slept in, or there's this like meditative, my mind is empty and I have no thoughts.
Yeah.
Or this austere, silent retreat where that sounds like it might make me crazy.
Yeah. And is like, am I going to be looking for that once a week? And if so, is that going to be the same every week? Like, am I supposed to, quote unquote, I don't know, am I supposed to just do that form of rest once a week? Is it going to be ever changing? Like, well, no, this week, like, you're going to find that rest and rejuvenation, find that Sabbath by this mean. And then this week it's going to be like this, or I think just having like simply a structure. So something I have started to do recently, like, is put on my calendar once a week. Like, at the time of this recording, it's like Fridays, intentional Sabbath. Like, okay, step one, like I've got it at least on my calendar.
Does it say Sabbath? Intentional Sabbath?
Yeah, Sabbath 20 or like morning to night, basically.
Okay.
But like within that, like it's like, okay, so
yeah.
I know I'm not gonna work,
right?
But what?
Yeah, okay.
But it's also like finding I know like. It's just maybe the culture I've grown up in, like work. Like I think maybe like part of the culture we live in, it's like you are what you work, basically, and that's your identity.
Yeah,
certainly. Like I don't think should be true. Like, but in some sense, like people ask you, like, oh, like what are you? What do you do? Like the first thing you're always gonna say is your job, your calling, like in life. Like I'm a plumber. I'm a cashier. I'm a school teacher.
Although people get weirded by pastor, so I usually try to hide it as long as I can.
I'm able to, somewhat. Like it's always interesting. I do always. I find it really interesting though. Like I don't know when I'm out at social, like a bar or I don't know, talking to strangers, people,
which you're really good at.
I love it. Yeah. I love being able to make like those connections and meet those people. But like, it's such a different extreme to say like I lead like I'm a worship director. I'm a leader in music. I plan the services versus like pastor. People just, those are just completely different extremes.
They either don't talk to me anymore, or they're like mad at me, or they assume certain political tenets, and they're like, you're in my camp on this thing, right? I'm like, I don't know you. That's weird. No.
Yeah. And so, but with that, obviously, like I hope to gain a better understanding, like of what toiling of the work means, and then from that, like where does Sabbath stem from that?
Yeah.
So kind of just a bunch of loose thoughts, like in regard to that, but like I'd hope from this book and just diving into it more and more to just gain a better understanding of what is Sabbath. What did God have in mind from us?
Yeah, and so we're hoping this book is a conversation partner, not just sort of the resource. It's certainly not definitive, and like I said, there's going to be plenty of stuff we don't agree with. But as you and I are looking at what rest can look like in our lives, I think we need help, and we'll see what this voice adds to the conversation.
Yeah. I don't know to like mirror that back, but do you have a hope, a goal in mind from this book?
Yeah, I think a number of them. One is on the professional side. Barna does research and surveys and things like that. Mm-hmm. And a number of years ago, maybe right out of COVID or middle of COVID, Barna's. You can go to BARNA, Barna, that was .org or .com.
Google Barna.
Google Barna. But they've got a whole department now called, I think, Resilient Pastors. it's sort of studying and recognizing the fact that like pastors are generally not healthy, and burn out, and
more than ever now.
Yeah, right? And we talked about this last episode. Every job has burdens and joys, and my job is not harder than anybody else's job, but they're all different. But so from like a professional point of view, I feel myself tired, and like I don't know the last time I had like 2 straight hours where I like didn't think about a challenge at my job. So like day off or second day off in a row, or like, if I had 3 days off in a row, like even on the third day, I'm barely going an hour without like, but there's that thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm having,
it's very consuming.
Yeah. I'm having a really hard time disconnecting, and it's it's not good for me. And I feel that I'm like, I need to figure this out if I'm going to like keep doing this in a healthy way. For me, and in a way that like I want my kids to love Jesus and the church. I don't want them to hate the church or hate Jesus because their dad was grumpy and unhealthy and always anxious and always tired. So that's kind of a fear of mine, is that my if I am not a healthy pastor with boundaries and rest in my life, not only am I gonna serve the church poorly and not for long, and not only am I gonna be unhealthy, but it could have like a generational consequence of my kids being mad at the church or the Lord because dad didn't handle it well.
And absolutely, I think family comes first, whatever, but relationally too, like even more than just family, like purely just your job too. Like you want to do, I think everyone can say they want to do good, like work, like it's for their job too. Like,
so I'm very recently and vividly aware that if I'm not rested and healthy, I'm not going to be good at my job. And that's just a kind of very base way of saying it. But I feel that. I feel kind of a tiredness that translates to irritability and lack of creativity and lack of energy. And then things take longer and don't go as well. And then I'm ruminating more.
And just into I don't know. I don't want to say it like I don't know how to say it well, but like you don't want to lose, I don't know, the passion, motivation, energy, joy you had that made you want to be in like the career field at all in the first place.
And I think this could happen in any job.
Absolutely.
And it's not just job, but just sort of I've felt recently kind of just a lack of joy. Like I'm tired and distracted and not satisfied, and that's not sustainable or healthy. So I'm just realizing like I gotta figure some things out, and I don't have the skills to do that, and so needing to figure out, okay, how can I have some rest? So we'll talk about this. So I guess some of the things I'm looking for out of this, I'm looking for some practical. So how does one do this? How, not just one, how can I do this? How can I feel rested? And, are there boundaries? Are there practices? Are there habits? Are there things I should stop doing? Are there things I should start doing? And I want to think through it as well. Like I want to understand where does rest come from? How do I protect it? I also don't want to be weird.
No, I can't. Like I can't do it.
I'm sorry. I don't turn my microwave on Fridays. There's
like where are the boundaries and limits just to rest?
Yeah. So I really think I need boundaries, and I know as an American and as a Western Washington resident, like in general, our culture just abhors anything where there's like rules and restrictions, and yet this whole idea of like I'm just free to do what I want, I feel more slaved than ever. Like me just doing what I want is not making me happy or healthy.
Yeah.
So I feel that. So I think I need some boundaries and practices in my life. I want to figure out what those are.
I think, yeah.
I want to figure out how to do that in a way that also, like, because I know my temperament and probably a few other people, I'm tired from doing good things that I love.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That I love this thing, and in a certain sense, this is life-giving, but not in this balance or at this rate or without something else in the mix.
Yeah.
So I love being a pastor. I love coaching. I love running. I love playing. I love watching TV. I love sports, and I love all these things. And yet, I'm so tired, and not just like sleepy tired, but
yeah, no, like
I could get 12 hours of sleep for 4 nights in a row.
Still feel
I'm going to be lethargic and empty.
Yeah.
Like there's a deeper tired than not sleeping right now.
I think, yeah, I echo and mirror, I think a lot. I think a lot of what you're saying, like I'm sure a lot of other people can too. It's just like, yeah, it's a tired that not even like sleep covers. Like,
yeah, and coffee helps jumpstart the day, but it's not an answer.
That's always especially for me, coffee does. I drink it just because I pressure myself too. Like this'll make me feel better and more motivated.
What a dangerous thing
just
to
makes
say.
my body twitch and like me feel more anxious than I was before. Like this backfired entirely. What is the coffee? You're supposed to be my friend. Everyone says this, but I had a thought. To what you were saying.
Yeah, well, while you come back to that, I'll share another thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I think some things I'm afraid of in this little journey we're going on is, I think there's a pride that's like, oh, you can't cut it, or you're lazy, or you're weak. There's kind of a fear of not being good enough, and other people don't complain about their jobs. Why am I such a baby?
Yeah,
like that's a fear.
I think that's honestly a fear of mine too. Of like, I've got things like I've got so many blessings in my life. I've got so many good things and people who care for me and want me to succeed and want me to do well. I shouldn't be complaining at all. Right. It's just like, no, something's wrong.
Yeah. I think another fear is I don't want to give anything up.
Yeah.
And like, I can't, I'm afraid I might have to, either a whole category of things or an involvement to a certain extent, or, what does it look like to do all these things I really enjoy, but I don't think I can do all of them, or all of them at the same time, or all of them to the same level of involvement. So I'm afraid of having to stop something.
I almost wonder too if it is just structure of priorities.
Yeah.
But then that, like, I don't know if that solves anything though either. Just like, no, there's a lot of things I want to do. But the thought I had was somebody asked a really great question that I've trying to ask other people a lot more, and I think it's great. And just people often ask, "How are you doing? How are things?" But just another, simple way to ask in a thoughtful way to literally anyone. It's just, how's your soul? And that just speaks so much more to like things are great. Like I'm like, I'm getting enough like income and I'm feeding myself well. I'm exercising. Like, how's your soul? Like, and it's just been so much more of a provoking question just to be able to ask not only myself, but just those around close to me. And just when somebody did ask me that, like, how is your soul? It's like, man, like, I don't know if my soul's got much more to give. Yeah. And like, it's so it's been empty like for a while. Like it needs this some kind of like rest.
Yeah. There's a quote in here and I can't find it now. But it's the same quote that in Digital Minimalism, Cal Newport's quoting this kind of whistleblower guy from Silicon Valley who was, wrote some article a while ago, basically like, we're losing our humanity right now. And that was from kind of the technology point of view of we're so captivated by these things that are designed to attack our attention and hold us into it, but we're losing our humanity. Like we forgot we had a soul. Is the kind of is more or less like that's the takeaway.
I love that.
Yeah, like
I love that quote.
It's deep. But just maybe to kind of get closer to some positive thing here. One of the theme verses of this book comes from Matthew chapter 11 in the New Testament, words of Jesus that I've been reflecting on recently and slowly starting to reflect on, still confused by, still I'm like, I want what he's offering. What does that mean? But Jesus says this, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So just, folks who are listening right now, if anything we've been talking about kind of resonates of, yeah, I have that kind of tired, or I'm distracted, or I'm not happy, or I'm worried about my soul. Jesus says this, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And by the way, this was before there were smartphones or the Industrial Revolution. So like, this is not a new problem, being weary and burdened and needing rest. It might be part of humanity. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Yoke is like what would you kind of put animals underneath while they'd pull a plow. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. So what does it mean to learn from Jesus? For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So in some sense, Jesus is inviting us to find rest in him. Those who are weary and burdened, who need rest, Jesus offers rest for our souls. I've had that verse memorized for 20 years.
Hear it a lot.
And it strikes me of how I can know an answer and I can believe it's true, and it can still feel so far away. Like, I know that verse. Yeah, Matthew 11:28 or whatever it is. Like, I know that. I can quote it. I can probably tell you what some of the Greek words are. And yet here I am, a pastor of 15 plus years who's going, oh, I'm weary and burdened and I need rest for my soul. If only there was a way. Yeah. I don't know how to do that.
Oh no.
But that's where we're at.
Yeah. And one kind of final thought to this, processing all this just reminds me of, I don't know, it's not like a problem in my life, but comparing it to when you need to change like a diet or routine in your life. Like certainly I think we've talked about this before, but like certainly you could eat all the right foods, you could prepare all the right dishes, but if you're not going to change like who you are and sacrifice your routine and what's been normal to you for your whole life up until this point, to make that significant change in your life to diet, because you got to change these routines to actually lose the weight or to change like physically like who you want to be. But like I definitely feel like I'll be going through that same process while teaching myself, trying to restructure the Sabbath of like, certainly obviously routines in my life aren't good or working.
Yeah, that also reminds me, this is maybe a scary thing. I remember it's probably 30 years ago now, or maybe 20 years ago now, there was some headline about, it was supposed to be catchy, but it was like, obesity is contagious. But what they were saying was like, your weight is going to be very related to the people who are closest to you. Like find the 10 people you spend the most amount of time with, and like you could draw a pretty good bell curve of like what your weight is going to look like based on your 10 closest friends. So like the habits and practices of the people around you impact you. So like if they're always eating healthy, and like if you surround yourself with healthy eating people, you are going to start to eat healthier. If you surround yourself with fit people, you're going to start to be fitter.
So maybe in the same vein, surrounding yourself.
Well, so yeah, that's what's scary is we live in this world where like, many people around us are living in the same drowning condition. And so, do we have examples, and what does it look like to find other people? And habits are hard. So, my cholesterol is not great. I've joked about it for a while, and I've made very little change. But my big brother, his cholesterol was also not great. I think it's genetic stuff. I think he got a scarier diagnosis from the doctor than I did. Yeah. And that was this like wake up call, and he fixed it. Like they changed their diet and they made really intentional and drastic choices and got it under control. And I haven't had to do that because it was not that scary. And I've been kind of like this functional cholesterol person, like talk about like a functional alcoholic. Yeah. And so like I've kind of been like functioning with high cholesterol and not having to worry about it. And I think I'm at almost like a tipping point here where I've been functioning knowing I'm too stressed and not rested, but it feels like it's at this critical point of like the doctor saying, you need to change this or you're going to die. Like you need to do something, or like you're not going to be able to live the life that you're living.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I think a drastic wake-up call might be what I need to make the change, because change isn't fun or easy or pleasant, and it's hard, and I don't have the right tools, and to change is going to like actually require change, and that's not fun. Yeah. But if the option is like change or you don't get to continue living the way you're living,
change or you're just not going to be happy.
Yeah. Like I'm on a trajectory that feels run down and grumpy and not sustainable. And so unless something changes, this only gets worse.
I love it. I think this is just a perfect teaser, because obviously I don't know. You've started reading the book, and
sorry, I couldn't wait for you, Shane. I couldn't wait.
But it's already, I think, a great insight that we're gonna walk together in and just processing this, and certainly like I want to preface to myself, to listeners, like I hope this conversation intrigues you, because it's certainly intriguing me. But I'll also don't. I think it's just healthy to say, like, don't go into this expecting like these are all of the answers, and like these, like I'm gonna be happy again doing this. Like certainly, like we take care of yourself and digest this. We're all gonna digest this and use this in various different ways in our different life. But I'm excited to at least open that book metaphorically and physically, like into exploring this.
So I think I didn't talk to you about this yet, Shane. I think as we go through the series, we should have commitments and homework, whether it's a practice. Like, so like before we meet next time, like, I don't know, read 50 pages, whatever it is. Like, read, I'll just say 50. Read 50 pages.
We could do chapter by chapter. Obviously, we haven't talked through.
We don't know what we're doing. We're just a couple of friends processing life, and this is a big part of our lives. I think in future weeks, though, we'll have hey, let's try this thing.
What happened when you tried this?
Yeah, maybe it's all right. I don't know. Maybe he's going to say, sit in silence for 30 minutes once a week. All right, like let's commit to doing that, and then we'll come back and we'll see how it went. I think for now I'm gonna continue reading, and I think my commitment also is just I'm trying to be more aware of how I'm feeling. That sounds so normal for some people, and that sounds so alien to others.
I think that's been really good for me too recently. Of the same, just like,
acknowledging I'm disappointed.
Why am I disappointed? Why am I so like, I think you said, like mean to people, or like I mean to Lauren, like just like come home, like just like no, like why can't I just be in a better attitude of things? Like certainly it was a fine day, like.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure I'm at the why am I there yet. I'm just trying to, I think my first couple steps are like naming and acknowledging.
Yes.
Oh, I'm disappointed. And maybe even before I know why, just to say, hey, Charlotte, Shane, somebody else, like I'm feeling disappointed right now. And I'm sorry how that might affect you. Just like, I don't need to be sorry that I'm feeling it, but like I acknowledge that my disappointment or my anxiety is not helping us, and that's not good. So that's kind of where I'm at this week. Is I'm trying to be aware, like feel it, recognize it, name it, and that feels like a big first step.
Same here. So join us on this adventure. I hope you guys just find this common ground in that, and just when in doubt, just talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's certainly great for us to be able to just process life together.
This would be much more difficult to just solve on my own or sitting in a reading chair. Because like reading about it isn't like I can read this stuff all day long. Mm-hmm. But like this is very different to share with someone and learn.
So if you're listening to this, talk to somebody about this. What's rest to you? What's Sabbath to you? Does it mean anything? Explore these ideas. Just have a conversation. Thank you so much for listening. Excited for this series and looking ahead. Certainly we don't know what's ahead yet, but we're going to figure it out.
I love that. But we're just going for it. We'll just see what happens.
So thank you guys. Thanks for watching.
All right. Catch you next time
out there.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414@stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you, so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.